At the heart of narcissism lies a profound and destructive obsession with the self. It is a distortion of the natural love we are meant to feel for ourselves as creatures made in the image of God. Self-love, when rightly ordered, leads us to care for our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being in a way that glorifies our Creator. However, in the case of narcissism, this love becomes disordered and perverse. It shifts from being a healthy recognition of one's worth in God's eyes to a relentless pursuit of self-exaltation at the expense of others. Narcissism, in its essence, is not merely vanity or arrogance, though it often manifests in these ways. It is a deep-rooted insecurity masked by an inflated sense of superiority. The narcissist craves validation and admiration, not because they believe themselves inherently worthy, but because they are haunted by a void within a void they are desperate to fill with the approval of others. This desperate hunger drives them to manipulate, deceive, and control, often without regard for the harm they cause. The narcissist's self-obsession is often accompanied by an inability to see others as they truly are. People become tools, objects to be used for their own gratification or discarded when they are no longer useful. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, is conspicuously absent in the narcissist's life. Instead, relationships are transactional, based on what others can provide to sustain their inflated ego or shield them from their own insecurities. But perhaps the most troubling aspect of narcissism is its resistance to truth. To the narcissist, truth is not a fixed reality, but a malleable construct, something to be bent and shaped to suit their needs. They cannot bear to confront the truth of their own flaws, failures, or limitations, because such an admission would shatter the carefully constructed facade themselves they have built around themselves. They live in a world of illusion, where their self-perception takes precedence over reality. This denial of truth is not without consequences. It leads to a life marked by broken relationships, unfulfilled promises, and a trail of wounded hearts. For the narcissist, the truth is not just inconvenient, it is a threat. To admit the truth would be to admit vulnerability, and vulnerability is something they fear above all else. It is this fear that drives their relentless need for control, their manipulation of others, and their refusal to accept accountability for their actions. Yet, despite their best efforts, the truth remains unchangeable. No amount of deception or manipulation can alter what is real. The truth about narcissism is that it is ultimately self-defeating. By elevating themselves above others, narcissists isolate themselves. By rejecting accountability, they stunt their own growth. And by refusing to face the truth, they cut themselves off from the grace and redemption that can only come through humility and repentance. For those who find themselves in relationships with narcissists, understanding this nature is vital. It is not an invitation to pity or excuse their behavior, but a reminder that their actions stem from a place of profound brokenness. This understanding equips us to respond not with retaliation or despair, but with wisdom, boundaries, and, where possible, compassion. It reminds us that while the narcissist may resist the truth itself remains steadfast. And it is in this unchanging truth that we find our strength and our hope. Narcissists possess a remarkable ability to distort reality in order to preserve their carefully curated image of perfection and superiority. This manipulation of truth is not merely a casual habit, but a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. For the narcissist, maintaining the facade of invulnerability and flawlessness is paramount, for to confront their true self would be to unravel the delicate scaffolding upon which their identity rests. Their efforts to reshape reality serve as a shield, protecting their fragile ego from scrutiny, rejection, and the deep-seated insecurities they work so hard to conceal. At the heart of this distortion lies the narcissist's refusal to accept responsibility for their actions. Accountability threatens the illusion of their perfection, so they shift blame onto others or construct elaborate justifications for their behavior. If confronted with a mistake, they are quick to deflect, often accusing the very person who challenges them of wrongdoing. This tactic not only absolves them of fault, but also creates confusion, leaving others questioning their own perceptions. By consistently denying reality, they maintain control over the narrative and ensure that their version of events becomes the dominant one. One of the most common strategies narcissists use to distort reality is gaslighting. This insidious form of psychological manipulation involves convincing others that their memories, feelings, or perceptions are flawed or incorrect. A narcissist may deny having said or done something, even when faced with clear evidence. Over time, this persistent denial erodes the confidence of those around them, leading victims to doubt their own judgment. Gaslighting allows the narcissist to maintain their image of infallibility while simultaneously destabilizing others, making them more susceptible to the narcissist's influence. Narcissists also excel at creating a false narrative that casts them in a favorable light. They carefully curate the details of their life to present an image of success, charm, and competence, often exaggerating or fabricating accomplishments to gain admiration. They may take credit for the achievements of others while downplaying or dismissing their own failures. This selective storytelling allows them to construct a version of reality that aligns with their self-perception and elicits praise from those around them. To challenge this narrative is to invite their wrath, as any contradiction threatens to expose the truth they so desperately seek to hide. Another method by which narcissists distort reality is through triangulation, a tactic that involves pitting people against one another to maintain control and manipulate perceptions. By sharing half-truths, gossip, or outright lies, they create divisions among those around them, ensuring that their version of events remains unquestioned. This not only isolates individuals from one another, but also reinforces the narcissist's central position in their lives. In the chaos they create, the narcissist emerges as the sole arbiter of truth, further solidifying their grip on the narrative. The narcissist's ability to distort reality is not limited to interpersonal relationships, it extends to their self-perception as well. They construct an idealized version of themselves that is far removed from the flawed human being they fear they truly are. This idealized self is often characterized by grandiosity, with the narcissist viewing themselves as uniquely gifted, important, or deserving of special treatment. Any challenge to this self-image is met with hostility, as it threatens to expose the chasm between who they are and who they pretend to be. This internal distortion of reality allows the narcissist to avoid confronting their vulnerabilities, but it also locks them into a cycle of denial and self-deception. Ultimately, the narcissist's distortion of reality is a double-edged sword. While it may temporarily protect them from the pain of self-awareness, it also prevents genuine growth and healing. By refusing to confront the truth, they remain trapped in a cycle of manipulation, insecurity, and superficiality. Their relationships suffer as those around them grow weary of the constant gaslighting, blame shifting, and emotional manipulation. In their quest to preserve their image, narcissists alienate themselves from the very connections that could offer them genuine validation and support. For those who interact with narcissists, understanding this pattern of distortion is crucial. It provides clarity in the face of their manipulative tactics and serves as a reminder that their version of reality is not grounded in truth. Recognizing the ways narcissists manipulate perception empowers others to set boundaries, protect their own sense of reality, and resist the pull of the narcissist's fabricated world. While narcissists may persist in their efforts to reshape reality, the truth remains unchanging, offering a beacon of light to those who refuse to be ensnared by their illusions. The pain narcissists inflict on relationships is profound and multifaceted, touching every emotional and psychological aspect of those who come into close contact with them. At its core, This pain arises from the narcissist's inability or refusal to engage in relationships as mutual exchanges of care, respect, and understanding. Instead, their interactions are rooted in self-interest, manipulation, and control, leaving their partners, friends, and family members emotionally drained and deeply wounded. A defining characteristic of narcissistic relationships is the initial charm and allure. Narcissists often present themselves as charismatic, attentive, and even ideal partners or friends at the start. They shower others with compliments, grand gestures, and an intense focus that can feel exhilarating. This phase, often referred to as love bombing, creates a sense of deep connection and trust. However, this is not born out of genuine affection, but rather a calculated effort to draw others into their orbit. Once the narcissist feels secure in their position of control, this facade begins to fade, revealing their true nature. As the relationship progresses, the narcissist's need for validation becomes a constant demand. They require continuous praise, admiration, and attention to sustain their fragile self-esteem. This relentless need places an enormous emotional burden on those around them, who often feel pressured to meet the narcissist's expectations at the expense of their own needs. Over time, the narcissist's insatiable appetite for validation creates an imbalance in the relationship, where one party gives endlessly while the other takes without reciprocation. One of the most painful aspects of relationships with narcissists is their propensity for emotional manipulation. Narcissists use a variety of tactics to maintain control and keep others off balance. Gaslighting, for example, is a common method where the narcissist denies or distorts reality, causing their partner or friend to question their own perceptions and feelings. This erodes the victim's self-confidence and sense of reality, making them more dependent on the narcissist for validation and guidance. The constant second-guessing creates a pervasive sense of confusion and self-doubt, leaving the victim feeling powerless. Narcissists also exploit the vulnerabilities of those they are close to. They often seek out empathetic and caring individuals, as these traits make them easier targets for manipulation. The narcissist will use personal information shared in moments of trust against the other person, whether through subtle put-downs, outright insults, or veiled threats. This betrayal of trust is particularly painful, as it turns moments of vulnerability into weapons of emotional harm. In addition to manipulation, narcissists are known for their lack of empathy. They struggle or outright refuse to acknowledge the feelings and needs of others, which makes genuine connection nearly impossible. When conflicts arise, narcissists often dismiss or minimize the pain they have caused, shifting blame onto the other person instead. This unwillingness to take responsibility for their actions deepens the wounds they inflict, as it denies the victim the validation and closure they need to heal. The pain inflicted by narcissists is not limited to the emotional realm. It also takes a psychological toll. Over time, those in relationships with narcissists may develop symptoms of anxiety, depression, and even post-traumatic stress. They may feel trapped, isolated, and fearful of speaking out, as the narcissist often retaliates against any perceived challenge to their authority. The victim's self-worth is gradually eroded, leaving them feeling invisible, unimportant, or even defective. Despite all this harm, leaving a relationship with a narcissist is often fraught with difficulty. Narcissists are adept at using guilt, fear, and manipulation to maintain their grip on others. They may alternate between cruelty and affection, creating a cycle of abuse that is difficult to break. This intermittent reinforcement keeps their partners or friends hoping for change, even when the pattern remains unchanged. For those who endure relationships with narcissists, the pain is a stark reminder of the cost of being ensnared in their web. However, understanding the dynamics at play is the first step toward liberation and healing. Recognizing the narcissist's behavior as a reflection of their own insecurities, not a judgment of one's worth, can help victims reclaim their power and sense of self. While the scars left by these relationships can be deep, they also carry the potential for growth and wisdom. In the face of the narcissist's relentless self-interest, the resilience of the human spirit offers hope, strength, and the possibility of rebuilding a life rooted in genuine connection and mutual respect. Narcissists fear accountability and the truth because these forces threaten the fragile foundations of their identity. At the core of narcissism lies a deep insecurity, masked by an outward display of confidence, superiority, or charm. Accountability and truth are like mirrors that reflect back an unfiltered image, forcing them to confront their flaws, mistakes, and shortcomings. For a narcissist, such confrontation is intolerable because it shatters the carefully constructed facade they have spent their lives building. Their fear is not just about being exposed to others, but also about facing the harsh realities of themselves, a prospect they work tirelessly to avoid. The narcissist's life is built on the foundation of an inflated self-image. They see themselves as superior, special, or entitled, often exaggerating their achievements and minimizing their faults. This self-image serves as a defense mechanism to shield them from feelings of inadequacy, shame, or worthlessness. Accountability threatens to dismantle this illusion by holding them responsible for their actions and requiring them to acknowledge their flaws. For someone whose sense of self depends on denial and distortion, this is a terrifying prospect. The truth is equally threatening because it is immutable and impartial. Narcissists thrive in environments where they can control the narrative, bending reality to suit their needs. They distort facts, shift blame, and manipulate perceptions to maintain their image and avoid the discomfort of self-awareness. The truth, however, resists manipulation. It exposes inconsistencies, challenges lies, and demands honesty. This is why narcissists often go to great lengths to evade the truth, whether through denial, deception, or outright hostility toward those who dare to speak it. One of the primary reasons narcissists fear accountability is that it requires vulnerability. To be accountable means admitting mistakes, taking responsibility for harm caused, and making amends. For most people, these acts are opportunities for growth and connection. For narcissists, however, they represent a loss of control and an exposure of weakness. Vulnerability clashes with their need to appear invulnerable, perfect, and in control at all times. Admitting fault feels like an existential threat to their identity, as it undermines the persona they have constructed to protect themselves from feelings of inadequacy. Another layer to their fear of accountability and truth is the potential for social consequences. Narcissists are deeply concerned with how they are perceived by others. They crave admiration and validation, often at the expense of authenticity. Being held accountable exposes them to criticism, rejection, or ridicule, which they find intolerable. To avoid these outcomes, they employ tactics such as gaslighting, scapegoating, or deflection to shift the focus away from themselves. By doing so, they preserve their image and deflect responsibility onto others. The fear of accountability also stems from the narcissist's inability to separate their actions from their identity. For most people, admitting a mistake does not equate to being a bad person. It is simply a part of being human. Narcissists, however, interpret any acknowledgement of wrongdoing as a direct attack on their self-worth. This all-or-nothing thinking prevents them from accepting accountability without experiencing a profound sense of shame. Instead of facing this shame, they lash out, deny, or project blame onto others, perpetuating a cycle of avoidance and defensiveness. This fear of truth and accountability has far-reaching implications for their relationships. Narcissists often leave a trail of hurt, betrayal, and broken trust in their wake. Yet, instead of taking responsibility and seeking reconciliation, they double down on their distortions to avoid admitting fault. This not only deepens the pain of those they harm, but also isolates the narcissist further. Their refusal to confront the truth creates a chasm between themselves and others, leaving them trapped in a lonely world of their own making. While narcissists fear accountability and truth, their avoidance comes at a cost. By refusing to face reality, they deny themselves the opportunity to grow, heal, and form meaningful connections. Their relationships remain shallow and transactional, their sense of self remains fragile, and their lives are dominated by the constant effort to uphold a facade. The very things they fear, accountability and truth, are the keys to freedom and transformation, but their unwillingness to embrace them keeps them locked in a cycle of self-deception and dissatisfaction. For those who interact with narcissists, understanding this fear can be empowering. It provides insight into their behavior and equips others to navigate their manipulation without internalizing blame. While holding a narcissist accountable can be challenging, it is also a necessary step in breaking the cycle of their harmful actions. The truth, though feared by the narcissist, remains unchanging and steadfast, offering clarity and liberation to those who choose to embrace it. Responding to narcissists requires a delicate balance of empathy and wisdom, as these two qualities can provide both clarity and resilience when navigating the complexities of such relationships. Empathy allows us to recognize the underlying wounds that drive a narcissist's behavior, while wisdom equips us to set healthy boundaries and protect our emotional well-being. Together, these traits enable us to respond to narcissists with understanding and strength, avoiding the pitfalls of enabling their destructive patterns or becoming entangled in their manipulations. Empathy begins with the recognition that narcissism is often rooted in deep-seated insecurity and unhealed emotional pain. Beneath the surface of grandiosity and entitlement lies a person who likely developed their narcissistic tendencies as a defense mechanism against feelings of inadequacy, rejection, or abandonment. This understanding doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it provides context for why narcissists act as they do. Seeing the human being behind the facade can soften the instinct to respond with anger or judgment, replacing it with a more compassionate perspective. However, empathy must be guided by wisdom. While it is important to acknowledge the pain that fuels narcissistic behavior, it is equally critical to recognize that narcissists often use the empathy of others to their advantage. They are adept at exploiting kindness, twisting it into an opportunity for control or manipulation. Wisdom teaches us to temper our empathy with discernment, ensuring that our compassion does not come at the expense of our own mental and emotional health. This balance allows us to engage with narcissists without becoming enmeshed in their toxic dynamics. One of the ways wisdom manifests is in the ability to set and maintain boundaries. Narcissists often test the limits of others' patience, generosity, and tolerance, pushing until they find the point of least resistance. Without clear boundaries, they are likely to take advantage of any perceived weakness or uncertainty. Wisdom involves recognizing this pattern and responding with firm but respectful limits. For example, if a narcissist attempts to dominate a conversation or dismiss your feelings, wisdom enables you to assert your perspective without becoming combative. Setting boundaries is not an act of hostility, but a necessary step in preserving your sense of self and preventing emotional harm. Empathy also plays a crucial role in managing your expectations of a narcissist. Understanding that they are unlikely to change, at least not without significant personal effort and external intervention, can help you let go of the hope that they will suddenly become more self-aware or considerate. This realization, guided by wisdom, can prevent the frustration and heartbreak that often accompany repeated attempts to fix or change a narcissist. Instead, empathy allows you to accept them as they are while choosing how much access they have to your life and energy. Another dimension of wisdom is knowing when to disengage. Not all relationships with narcissists can or should be maintained. In some cases, the best course of action is to create distance, whether physical, emotional, or both. This decision is often difficult, especially if the narcissist is a close family member or long-term partner. Empathy might make you hesitant to step away, fearing that you are abandoning or harming them. However, wisdom reminds you that prioritizing your own well-being is not selfish but necessary. By removing yourself from a harmful dynamic, you create space for healing and growth. Empathy and wisdom also guide how we communicate with narcissists. Narcissists often thrive on conflict and emotional reactions, as these provide opportunities to assert dominance or control. Responding calmly and thoughtfully, even in the face of provocation, can disarm their attempts to manipulate or escalate tension. Empathy helps you understand their need for validation, while wisdom helps you avoid feeding into their tactics. For instance, acknowledging their perspective without capitulating to unreasonable demands can de-escalate conflict while maintaining your own integrity. In the broader sense, empathy and wisdom remind us that we cannot control or fix a narcissist's behavior, but we can control how we respond to it. Empathy allows us to see their humanity, even when their actions are hurtful or damaging. Wisdom empowers us to protect our boundaries, communicate effectively, and, when necessary, step away from harmful relationships. Together, these qualities enable us to navigate the challenges of interacting with narcissists with grace and resilience. Ultimately, responding to narcissists with empathy and wisdom is not about changing them, but about preserving our own peace and integrity. It is about understanding their struggles without becoming entangled in their dysfunction, and offering compassion without compromising our own needs. By cultivating these qualities, we can rise above the toxicity of narcissistic relationships and find strength, clarity, and freedom in our interactions. The triumph of truth over the illusions of narcissism is an inevitable outcome, though the journey to that victory can be arduous and fraught with challenges. Narcissism thrives on deception, self-deception, as much as the deception of others. Narcissists construct a fragile world built on illusions of grandeur, superiority, and control, all of which are designed to mask their deep insecurities. However, truth, by its very nature, is unyielding. It is not swayed by manipulation or falsehoods, and its eventual emergence serves as a powerful force that exposes the weaknesses and flaws inherent in narcissistic illusions. At the heart of narcissism is the need to maintain an idealized self-image. Narcissists work tirelessly to project an appearance of perfection, whether it be through charm, achievements, or authority. This facade, however, is not rooted in authenticity, but in fear of being seen as inadequate, vulnerable, or ordinary. To sustain their illusions, narcissists often resort to tactics like gaslighting, blame shifting, and exaggeration. They distort reality to fit their narrative, creating a version of the world where they are always right, always superior, and always in control. Yet, the truth remains, waiting patiently beneath the surface, impervious to their attempts to bury it. Truth's power lies in its consistency and resilience. While narcissistic illusions can be convincing for a time, they are inherently unstable. They rely on constant reinforcement from external validation and the suppression of any dissenting voices. The moment truth begins to surface, whether through exposure, accountability, or the awakening of those around the narcissist, their carefully constructed reality starts to crumble. This collapse is not immediate. It often unfolds gradually as the lies they have spun begin to unravel and the inconsistencies in their behavior become undeniable. One of the reasons truth triumphs over narcissism is its grounding in authenticity. Unlike the fleeting satisfaction of deceit, truth provides a solid foundation that does not require constant maintenance. Those who seek and embrace truth are free from the exhausting effort of keeping up appearances, allowing them to live with integrity and peace. In contrast, narcissists are perpetually on guard, fearing exposure and judgment. This relentless effort to uphold their illusions ultimately becomes unsustainable as the weight of deception grows heavier over time. For those entangled in relationships with narcissists, the triumph of truth is both a source of liberation and a lesson in resilience. Initially, the narcissist's illusions can be seductive, drawing people in with promises of love, admiration, or partnership. However, as the relationship progresses, the cracks in the facade begin to show. Gaslighting, manipulation, and emotional abuse erode trust and clarity, leaving the other person feeling confused and disoriented. Yet, as painful as this experience can be, it also provides an opportunity to rediscover the truth not just about the narcissist, but about oneself. The process of untangling from their web of illusions often leads to profound self-awareness and growth. Truth also triumphs through the collective recognition of reality. Narcissists depend on controlling the perceptions of others, often isolating their victims to maintain dominance. However, when multiple people begin to see through the facade, the narcissist's power diminishes. This collective awakening can happen in families, workplaces, or communities, as individuals share their experiences and validate one another's truths. The narcissist, who once seemed untouchable, is revealed as deeply flawed and vulnerable. This exposure is not just a defeat for their illusions, but a victory for honesty, accountability, and justice. Another dimension of truth's triumph is its redemptive power. While narcissists fear the truth because it threatens their illusions, it also offers a path to healing if they are willing to face it. Acknowledging their flaws, taking responsibility for their actions, and seeking genuine connection can lead to profound transformation. However, this requires a level of humility and self-awareness that many narcissists are unwilling or unable to achieve. For those who do embark on this journey, truth becomes not an adversary, but a liberator, freeing them from the cycle of deception and emptiness. Ultimately, the triumph of truth over narcissism is a testament to the enduring power of authenticity and integrity. While lies may provide temporary refuge, they cannot withstand the test of time. Truth, by contrast, is eternal. It may be obscured, denied, or suppressed, but it cannot be extinguished. It is the light that reveals what is hidden, the force that restores balance, and the foundation upon which genuine relationships and meaningful lives are built. For those who have been hurt or manipulated by narcissists, the triumph of truth is a reminder that no illusion can last forever. It is a call to trust in the strength of honesty, to seek clarity amidst confusion, and to hold fast to one's values and sense of self. In the end, truth prevails not through force, but through its unwavering presence, offering hope, healing, and liberation to all who choose to embrace it. The truth about narcissists cannot and will not be altered, no matter how fiercely they resist it. Their attempts to distort reality and avoid accountability are, at best, temporary illusions that crumble under the weight of their own contradictions. Narcissism, at its core, is a fragile construct built on the shifting sands of self-deception and denial. But the truth, God's truth, is eternal and unshakable. For those who have been hurt by narcissists, take heart in knowing that their cruelty, manipulation, and lies cannot stand against the unchanging reality of God's justice and love. Your worth is not determined by their validation, nor is your future dictated by their betrayal. The truth sets us free, not just from their illusions, but from the need to engage in their fruitless games. Stand firm in the light of truth, and let it guide you toward healing, wisdom, and peace. For the narcissist, the path of redemption is open, but it requires a complete surrender to the truth they so fiercely avoid. It demands humility, repentance, and a willingness to confront the reality of their actions. While many may resist this call, it remains a testament to God's mercy that even the most hardened heart can be softened by his grace. In the end, triumph belongs to the truth. For all the smoke and mirrors narcissists employ, they cannot escape the reality of who they are or the consequences of their choices. The truth, unyielding and eternal, will always have the final word. Let us cling to it, live by it, and trust in its power to bring light into even the darkest of places,